need them either. I never.
Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Minnesota Real Estate Show. Thank you for joining us today. We are happy you are here. Happy you're joining us. It is August the 13th, 2022, and we are live here at Twin Cities News Talk, AM 1130, every Saturday morning for the Minnesota Real Estate Show, hosted by Scott Wolmering of the We Team, the Minnesota Real Estate Team, with RE/MAX Advantage Plus. And that's okay too, guys. If we don't have the phones for right now, we're doing a little phone hunting. Mike Overson with Leader One Financial, or with Luminate Home Loans. Sorry, Luminate Home Loans. And my name is Ryan O'Neill with the Minnesota Real Estate Team, RE/MAX Advantage Plus. We appreciate you joining us. It's August the 13th, and we are here every Saturday for your questions, comments, thoughts, wherever you might be catching us on any of the social media channels. Thanks for tuning in. Scott, good morning. Nice to see you.
Yeah, good to see you. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Appreciate it. Like Ryan said, we are live and local here. We're going to be live on air in just a minute or so. And love your calls, comments, questions. It is an interactive show. 612-294-6949. You can also text us at that number, any questions that you have. If you haven't checked out our website before, it's mnrealestateshow.com. mnrealestateshow.com tells you everything about the team and everything about all of our incredible partners that we've had. Thanks again for tuning in.
Mr. Mike Overson. Mike, good to see you as always there, bud.
Good to see you, Ryan.
Nice to see you. We got a lot going on in the financing world we're going to be talking about today.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, riveting rate information. Talk about inflation, probably talks about the jobs reports and stuff like that.
Yeah, a lot.
The unemployment thing always fascinates me on how they come up with that number. So
also want to welcome Corey Schmiedeberg with Midwest Money Management. We're gonna have a great segment probably between 10:20 and 10:40. Corey, good to see you.
Good morning. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here today.
He always elevates the intelligence level in the room, all things financial, very wise, and lots of great information. So we're going live on air right now. Here we go on Twin Cities News Talk, AM 1130. Thanks for tuning in. Good morning. Welcome to the Minnesota Real Estate Show, and thank you for tuning in. August the 13th, 2022. We are live here at Twin Cities News Talk, AM 1130, every Saturday morning for the Minnesota Real Estate Show, hosted by Mike Overson of Luminate Home Loans, Scott Wolmering of the We Team, the Minnesota Real Estate Team, with RE/MAX Advantage Plus, and my name is Ryan O'Neill with the Minnesota Real Estate Team and RE/MAX Advantage Plus as well. We are in studio, and we welcome your questions, comments, thoughts from 10 to 11. 612-294-6949 is how you can join us by phone or by text message, 612-294-6949. Or again, if you're checking us out on social media, we do stream the show on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, you name it. We are streaming the show every Saturday morning too. A lot of information to cover today, Scott. A lot of good stuff. And good morning. Nice to see you, bud.
Yeah, you too. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Like Ryan said, we are local here in Golden Valley every Saturday. For what is our 20? Got to be our 20th year, or something like that.
A number of years.
A lot of years. And so, if this is the first time you're catching us, we appreciate you tuning in. If you're a return listener, we appreciate you coming back. 612-294-6949 is how you can join the discussion. You can call us and go live on air. You can also text us at that number, and we will take care of your text. And if you're following us on social media, you can just type in your questions as we go, and we'll cover them as they come in.
Mike Overson, good to see you there, bud. Always a pleasure.
yeah, good to see you, Ryan.
Lot going on in your world with you team, Hudson Murphy, Mark Frederick. You guys are doing an awesome job.
Yeah, it's an always changing world. That's the nice thing about our job, or maybe it's a bad thing about our job, is that there's always something changing, right? Rate's going to be different day after day, and so it's never the same, I guess.
Yeah, it is never the same. And again, thank you for joining us today. Questions, comments, thoughts. This is an informative show. It's a fun show. It's interactive. Again, any questions that you have, Again, we've got a lot to talk about today, and we'll maybe dive in right away to a market update for you from a real estate standpoint, and then Mike will touch on interest rates. But we did see this past week some interesting numbers. New listings, new homes for sale in the Twin Cities were down year over year, almost 25% less homes that came on the market. Also, pending sales or accepted purchase agreements down 22.4%, 1,171 pending sales. And then the inventory slowly starts to creep up, 8,830. With the Minnesota real estate team, we are still seeing things selling. We are still seeing activity in the market. The market is not crashing. The sky is not falling. It is slower, but things are still happening, Scott.
They are. They're just they're happening at more of a usual pace. What we got into over the last 3 years was just not. First of all, it wasn't sustainable. We couldn't continue to appreciate at at 12 to 18% a year, depending on what city you're in. The affordability index was going to go out of whack. Eventually, rates were going to not be in 2.8%. So that's happened here in the last 100 days. So the combination of inventory going up a little bit, which we definitely needed, rates basically doubling, the cost of everything that we buy is all, I think, kind of come on people in a really short period of time, and they're feeling it and they push back. They're not going out in droves. It is what is interesting is excuse me, the same amount of saved searches are still there. So a huge amount of people still have their search in place.
Yeah.
There's an example of a listing I just put on. We had almost 600 saved searches. Normally, that would be 20 to 30 showings, literally. And that is a ton of activity. And we've had one showing so far. We've only been on for a day, but we were coming soon for 2. And normally we'd have 20, 30 showings, and we have 1.
So again, those are 500-600 clients, buyers in the Twin Cities, working with a real estate agent, a real estate broker. They've got a search set up through their agent that we as agents in the MLS can see that save search. And so what Scott's referring to, 500, 600 people, that's a lot of saved searches. And usually that correlates to, okay, great, something new came on, because inventory, again, still historically low. Not a lot of inventory. You
No.
think that'd be more showing, Scott?
Yeah, I mean, in this particular style home, I think we're one of only 2 homes on the market.
Yeah.
So the combination normally would have been, oh my God, a new one's on. There's 600 of us that meets our criteria, and boom, something came on the market. It's super nice, and this flood, and we don't have it. And
Yeah.
so and across the board, agents are feeling that, depending on, doesn't matter what style home it's in, frankly, what price range it's in, that people are pumping the brakes.
Yeah, they are pumping the brakes. Mike, have you seen that in the mortgage world? Obviously, refinances have to be kind of, the spigot is turned off, but purchases as well.
Purchases, we're down year over year, and the sales, that you just read off will prove that as well. Closed sales year after year is down 23%, I think you just said. So everyone feels it out there. Purchase applications and stuff, they're still up there. You know what I mean? Not quite as many as last year, but if you take the number of applications we've taken versus the number of closed sales, that gap is larger this year than last year. Last year we would take 15 purchase applications, and 12 of them would close. Now we take 15 purchase applications, and maybe 7 of them or 8 of them are closing. You know what I mean? So there's just as many people out there that want to buy. They're just not pulling the trigger and doing it.
Yeah, that's what I find as unusual is, and that kind of reiterates that. So people are still arming up. I mean, they're not erasing their searches.
Right.
They're not getting mortgage applications in. They're not getting in the starting gates.
Sure.
They're there. They're just the gun's just not blowing or something, because they're not jumping out like they were. And we had a little bit of this last year. Again, crazy spring. Prices continue to go up, and then eventually we hit July, August, and it slowed down.
Yeah.
And so it's a little bit of a combination of last year, but as these numbers say, it's worse than last year, because we're down 25%.
Yeah, and again, historically, as agents, who have been in the industry a long time, can tell you normally July is a little bit softer. Again, you've got families going on vacations. It's summertime. You're taking a little bit of a breather after the spring market, after everybody trying to find stuff. So, but again, I was thinking about it driving in, and I've seen so many news articles out there talking about, it gets clicks. I think it gets clicks. It gets people to look at it, talking just these dire consequences about the housing market. And if you are a homeowner, don't fear. Your values are not plummeting. Again, I talk to agents daily who are having trouble finding a home for their buyer to buy.
That's right.
There's nothing out there to buy, Mike. So, that's part of it. It's not, there's people looking to buy.
Yeah, it's out there. It's just the right situation has to come along. And we see it this time every year. July, August, slower, right? We get past Labor Day, get past your new school schedule, right? Get your kids in that routine. Middle September to end of November, I think is going to be busy this year. We're going to see rates probably trickle down a little bit more from where they're at right now. And that's a hot time too, because if you're going to be moving, you'd rather move before the snow flies than after. So there'll be a little push, I think, just like every year coming this fall.
So and I know Corey's going to be talking about what's happening with inflation, stock market. What happened with rates this week? Were rates down, Mike?
So more last week. So rates really went down last week. This week was kind of a up and down week a little bit, right? So, but the downstroke from last week kind of carried over, and we had this wave going this week. So, you're sitting at, the mid fives for a 30-year fixed on a standard conventional deal. I priced out a jumbo deal yesterday. It was 4.625 on a 30-year fixed,
Mm-hmm.
and so, you rewind a month ago, we were talking at 6 1/8.
Yeah.
Now we're 5.5, 5.625-ish. So
Yeah, that we did have a text message question come in. And again, you can comment on the Facebook Live or the social media streams, or call us or text us 612-294-6949. Tabitha texted and just asked and said she's looking to buy a home. Could she do $500 for her earnest money? That's all shit. Could she do $500?
Absolutely. You could do $50 for your earnest money.
Yeah.
It just has to be a promise to, an earnest money check is nothing more than a promise to purchase the property. In the old days, you could put a cow up, as collateral for buying the farm. And so, whatever's acceptable between you and the seller is what you can put up for earnest money.
Hey, we're already at the first break here at the Minnesota Real Estate Show. 612-294-6949 is how you can join us. Questions, comments, thoughts, a lot going on. We have an awesome partner with us today, Midwest Money Management, Corey Schmiedeberg. So happy he's here with us today because he can help us look at really all things financial, what's going on in today's world with interest rates, real estate values, inflation, stock markets, many of those things, amongst others that Corey's going to be talking about. So you definitely won't want to miss his segment here. This is the Minnesota Real Estate Show. Hey, good morning. Thanks for the nice comments coming in. Moo, thank you. He says, good morning. Have a good weekend. Hope everybody's having a happy Saturday. Troy Hill, awesome agent on the Minnesota real estate team. He's at an open house. Good luck with your open house, Troy. And Scott, we're seeing more open houses now.
We're seeing a lot more open houses because you can actually do them because the house is still available to do an open house.
Right.
Yeah. And so I think we're going to see a lot more of that going on. Agents, in the other market, agents were doing letters and figuring out ways to get, their buyer a house. And now you're figuring out ways to get your seller's house to close. Hey, one thing I was going to say that we did last week, which I thought would be kind of fun throughout the show. We had a question last week. It was, what was your biggest pet peeve?
Biggest pet peeve last week.
Yeah.
That was getting the phone lines ringing.
Yeah. And so people would text in or write in on social media what their answer is. So this week I was thinking about what is your best physical trait and personal trait in a mate. So I'll give you an example. So
you see, you kind of go on the cuff a
Scott's
little bit.
like,
People always
that's
wonder.
what's up.
yeah. So for my physical, it's smile, and from personal, it's are you funny? You have a sense of humor.
So are you saying in your mate?
Yeah, in a mate.
So what do you look for?
In the opposite sex. So what is your top physical trait, and what is your top
Personality.
emotional or
Personality
personal
trait.
trait?
Corey, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? I mean, every week it's
I don't know. I guess the funny one is a good one.
sense of humor. It's good to have a sense
I mean, you
of
still
humor.
got to be good looking. You can't be like telling me a bunch of jokes.
Yeah, gotta have a sense of humor. Corey, though, I am super happy you are here. I'll do your formal introduction here in a second too, but a lot going on to talk about in your world.
There is. What do you guys want to talk about today? I guess is the question.
We can just have an ongoing segment with you guys. I think there's just a lot of unease in probably the world today, wondering what's going on. Hey, my grocery bill is high. This is going on. You know, there's a sense of unease a little bit.
Yeah.
You know.
And it's
Stock markets are down 2010.
401ks are disappearing.
Yeah.
it's pretty wild out there. You know, for the last 40 years. You know, Adam has talked about this. I've talked about it. We've been in a decreasing interest rate environment. You can pretty much push autopilot on your investments, on mortgage rates, everything, you know, just down. And now where do we go as things turn around? We've got 40% extra dollars in the economy, and which is driving inflation, and we have rising interest rates. So it's going to be interesting.
That'll be an interesting time. We're going to have dive into his full segment as well. And thank you again for joining us, Kareem. Thank you so much. We're going back live on air right now, Twin Cities News Talk, AM 1130. Thanks for tuning in. Hey, welcome back, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Hope your weekend's going well. If you are out and about driving, running some errands with the family, with the kids, again, hope you're having a nice weekend. This is the Minnesota Real Estate Show. We talk all things real estate related, mortgage related. We are here to provide you with great information to help you make informed decisions in our market. We talked in the first segment, inventory down almost 23. New listings down almost 25% this past week, but the inventory in the Twin Cities is slowly increasing. So we're getting a few more homes here. Mike just said refinances have you done any refinances in the last few months, Mike?
Done a few. Yeah. Got a couple going right now.
Who or why?
Divorce
I was
situation.
going to say I'd be divorced.
So divorce or cash out. So one client got divorced, one's staying in the house, keeping the house. The other one's going to be moving on to the next thing. So they got to refinance the other person off the loan. Because the only way to pull a name off of a home loan is to refinance that person's name off. Another client owns their primary residence almost free and clear. They want to buy a second home, like a cabin house in Wisconsin. It's cheaper to do a cash out on their primary residence versus putting the financing on the cabin. So they're going to do cash out here so that they just go buy the second home with cash. Outside of those, not a whole lot going on.
Do you guys know who's saying this? They got a divorce as a matter of course, and they parted the closest of friends. Corey, who do you think, bud?
Dr. Seuss.
That's what I was going to say. I was going to say Dr. Seuss, dude.
Mr. Billy Joel. Billy Joel. They got a divorce as a matter of course, and they parted the closest of friends. One of many Billy Joel songs that I love. But unfortunately, in real estate, a lot of people say, well, geez, do you guys have anything happening right now? The market's just terrible. You've got first-time buyers. You've got investors. You've got people relocating. Unfortunately, unhappy events, death, divorce, transactions keep happening even when there's snow, guys. Even when there's snow, people have a hard time saying, "Oh my gosh, your market's going to be shut off." Mike,
Speaking of divorce, you know, it's the old adage of you marry the house but date the loan. Isn't that what the thing is?
Yes.
You know, you got to remember, if you're buying now, right? You're buying now at today's interest rates. If interest rates go to, if they're 4.5 next year, you can refinance and get a 4.5.
Sure.
You know, so it's one of the. I have a lot of people right now where it's like, you talk about buying points. Like most lenders out online, if you look right now, will advertise a rate, you know, costing some sort of discount points because it attracts more people. There's a lower rate that they're seeing. It's going to cost you discount points. A lot of people are like, well, I don't want to pay the discount points now because rates are going to be lower. So why spend the money now to buy it? Let's wait for rates to go down.
Sure.
And then, you know, if we're going to do discount points, we'll do it then. So
yeah, good point. Want to transition to our friend and preferred partner, Corey Schmiedeberg. And Corey Schmiedeberg is a financial services specialist, accredited investment fiduciary, and the vice president of Midwest Money Management, located at 17316 Kenyon Avenue in Lakeville, Minnesota. Securities offered through Parkland Securities LLC, member FINRA and SIPC. Fee-based investment advisory services offered through Sigma Planning Corporation, a registered investment advisor. Midwest Money Management is independent of Parkland Securities LLC and SPC. Always a pleasure to have you on, Corey. Thanks for taking the time.
Yeah, thanks for having me this morning. I'm excited to be here.
Lot going on in your world. Where do we start, Corey? Where do we start?
Yeah, we can start wherever you guys want to. I think the one thing to tie it into the real estate show and to your listeners and clients is this whole interest rates as it's related to mortgages. Yes, interest rates are going up, but I was at a economist that I love. His name's Brian Westbury last week, and he was talking about interest rates. Only he was talking about it from the perspective of years ago when interest rates were high on fixed interest rates on investment assets. People, when interest rates would start to drop, and let's say they were at 10%, and people would say, "Well, I'm not gonna invest in one that's paying 9%," because they were back to 10, and then it would get down to 8%. They'd go, "Well, I'm not going to put in 8. I'm going to wait till they go back to 9." You can kind of flip that on its head with the mortgage interest rates, because for the last 40 years, and I have the charts here, we've been in a decreasing interest rate environment. We've basically hit zero. Whether it's mortgage interest rates, fixed interest rates on investments, everything's kind of been at the bottom. And as it starts to rise, I think a lot of people have that same attitude. Well, I'm not gonna buy a house right now because interest rates are at 5.5%. I'm gonna wait till they go back down to 4 or 4.5, and then they go up to 6%. And they go, well, they're sure gonna go back to 5.5% at some point.
Sure.
And to Mike's point, even if you buy a house and you get a mortgage at 6%, two things. One, if interest rates go back down, you can always refinance. Or if they go up, it's going to be a more valuable instrument for you to have in your investment portfolio or whatever. So, and the other thing is your mortgage, for just because, we talk about inflation, you get a fixed interest mortgage at 4, 5, 6, 7%. As everything else inflates, your mortgage stays the same. So it will always become less and less and less of your overall budget 5 years, 10 years, 15, 30 years into the future. So again, if people are wanting to buy a house, needing to buy a house, don't overextend yourself from a financial cash flow perspective, but don't be afraid to buy a house just because interest rates are at 5.5%.
Well, and I think you're exactly right. And it's a human nature thing. We've talked about it on the show forever. I remember back in 2008, I had an investor group that bought 15 townhomes in Apple Valley for $45,000 to $55,000. And then the bank came out with another 10 that they had foreclosed on. Now they were $60,000. Well, my investor group was like, well, I'm not going to spend $60,000. I'm like, guys, these were built for $225,000. Buy everything you can possibly buy. Well, I mean, at 55 we're in, but at 60 we're not. And of course, fast forward, now they're all worth 225 to 235 again. And they're like, what in the world were we thinking? Why did we not do it? But when you're in it, there's this human nature standpoint that, hey, is it really going to come back, or are values really just going to stay where they're at? Well, of course they're not logically, but when you're at that point, you always think it's going to, you just do.
And that's the thing, you're buying a house, you guys probably, how long do people stay in a home for if it's their forever home, or they raised their family home? Is it 10, 15 years?
Well, I mean, the average, I think it's almost 5 years that people stay in it.
Surprisingly less
than
people think.
Okay.
Yes.
Now everybody goes in saying we're going to stay here forever. This is going to be our forever home.
And life happens.
Yeah, and then life happens.
Sure. But I guess the point is that you got to take a long-term approach to these things. Buying a house that you're going to live in certainly shouldn't be just a short-term decision of it. Put it this way, if you're making that decision based on the next 6 months, you probably shouldn't be buying that house.
Yeah.
So from a inflation standpoint, all the increased costs of things, as well as with the stock market. What's going on?
Inflation came down.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Down to 8.5%. Woohoo. What's going on is really quite simple, honestly. It goes back to when we closed down the economy, the world, which I'm sure you guys maybe saw this week. The CDC just said they've gotten rid of all the restrictions. So now we're completely wide open again from COVID. But when we closed down the economy, the federal government infused 40% more dollars into the economy than there were 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And that is it. It has nothing to do with the Fed raising rates or any of that sort of stuff. It has to do that we need to get that money back out of the system. Either the government sells bonds to take the money out. We figure out some way through productivity to be more efficient with producing things. So you think about it, there are certain businesses, technology and things can create efficiencies and produce more with the same amount of time. But take a mortgage person, take a financial advisor, take a real estate agent. Can you sell more homes in a day than you can sell in 24 hours? No, you can't, right?
No.
So there's a huge part of the economy that can't get any more efficient than it is. So, that
Mike's thinking over there. The hardest working man in mortgage is thinking, is there something else?
I'm like,
Yeah, something else.
How can I fit 26 hours of work in 24 hours time period?
He's
here?
thinking.
How can I-
Yeah, so if you come up with that, one, you'll make more money, and two, you'll reduce the inflation rate.
Right.
So,
All right, I'm on it.
okay,
I'll have an
there you
answer
go.
next week.
It's a good point though, Corey.
Yeah, and again, people talk about recession. Are we in a recession? Aren't we? Well, the interesting thing about recession is we don't really know if we're in a recession until it's over and it's published and says, yes, we were in a recession. A lot of times
Who
people
cares?
right.
What do you think, Corey, about that?
Well, it depends.
Yeah.
So if you look at, there's different ways of defining it. Generally speaking, a recession is just a contraction in economic activity, right?
Yeah.
There's this belief or this definition that it's 2 consecutive quarters of reduction in GDP.
Sure.
Depending on the economists, the people that are way smarter than myself will argue both sides of that. They'll say, yes, we're in a recession right now. I was just at a meeting last week and they said, absolutely, we are not in a recession. We are still in a reopening. Services, so the services industries, your restaurants, your movie theaters, all these places that were closed are still skyrocketing in their revenue growth and stuff. So it's hard to say we're in a recession when a huge portion of the economy is actually just busting at the seams, growing. We have super low unemployment. We have really good corporate profits going on. But the recession is still coming. Even the people that say we're not there yet, they say it's still coming in 23 or 24.
We're going to continue the discussion through the rest of the show with our friend Corey Schmiedeberg from Midwest Money Management. We're already at the halfway point, though. If you have questions, comments, thoughts, want to join the discussion, feel free to comment on the social media stream or 612-294-6949. This is the Minnesota Real Estate Show. Yeah, it's interesting though, Corey, when again asking about the recession. Scott, I know how you feel.
Well, to me, I don't really care. I mean, I know that when I go to Byerly's, that I use my little half a cart of basically the exact same food that I pretty much buy every time I go there was about $94, and now it's about $184. So I know they say it's only gone up 12% at the grocery store. It's doubled at the grocery store. So I mean, so for me, if I used to fill my gas tank up and it was $40 and now it's $106, I don't care if you call it a recession or not. I mean, I was talking to Jen, my ex-wife. I mean, we had 5 kids, so there were 7 of us in a household. So at one point I had 5 vehicles on the road, 5 insurances. And I'm thinking, my gosh, if this was going on right now when the kids were younger, we wouldn't be able to make it. I mean, so I know that if people are having to change their entire entire lifestyle.
Right.
I mean, I couldn't have filled up 5 cars with gas every week, plus pay the insurances on them, plus our bill that used to be about $1,800 for groceries would be $3,600 a month for just groceries.
Yeah.
Here's the cool thing though. This isn't the first time we've been through this.
Yeah.
Every one of these times, some smart person comes up with something to either do more mortgages in 24 hours a day or whatever. If we just push the government aside and let the American people figure it out, they will. They always have.
Yeah.
Right.
They always have. Every great thing that we've ever discovered or built or anything has come out of these tough times. And it's not such a bad thing for people to maybe be forced back into making some decisions and doing some things. Nature has an interesting way of equalizing things.
Yeah.
Well, and to understand that, and I don't want to get into a political thing here, but to understand that what sounds good on paper a lot of times isn't. So printing 40% of our money in circulation, even though you get a check for $600 or another check for $800, even though that might feel good for a half a second, the continual just kick in the teeth that you get from doing that is real. It's not fake. It doesn't go away. I mean, it's real life.
Free money isn't free.
It's not free.
You're paying for it now. You got it free back then. You're paying for it now.
Mike, what do you see for the mortgage industry moving forward as far as numbers of loan officers, the industry? Are there contractions happening? What's going on?
There'll be loan officers getting out of the game. A lot of loan officers moving now too, because we were talking about this before, Ryan. No loan officers move when they're busy, because if you leave loans at your old company, there's a lot of times you might not get paid on those loans you leave there. So it's like, well, if I got 20 loans going on right now, I'm not going to not get paid on those 20.
Mm-hmm.
But if you got 2 going on right now because you're that much slower, now you'll move. You know what I mean? Because there's only 2 left on the table. And so you'll see loan officers get out of the game. You'll see a lot of loan officers changing companies, shifting around. So probably in the real estate side too, you guys are going to have probably an exodus of agents probably leaving the game.
Corey, why, like, for example, last couple of weeks, how did the stock market do and why did that happen?
Yeah, well, so the market peaked in January, first week of January, and then it dropped almost 23%, give or take, over the next 6 months. From its bottom in June, it has actually rallied up 16% since the bottom in June. Yeah. And, so you look at charts, there's an interesting chart. It showed the S&P 500 in, I think, 2008 or 2009, and versus right now. And it tracked almost identical. So before the stock market actually crashed to its bottom, back in the housing crisis, it had a bear market rally very similar to what it's doing right now. So when you turn on so it's called a bear market rally. Basically, things have gotten so cheap that investors are going out and saying, there are some really good companies out there.
Here we go. We're going back live on air. We'll continue the discussion. Twin Cities News Talk, AM 1130. Thanks for joining us on social media, wherever you might be seeing the show. We appreciate it. Questions are welcome. Hey. Welcome back. We did not start the fire. Yes, thank you. We did not start the fire here in the Minnesota real estate market. It has been on fire the last couple of years. The fire has been slowly but surely dying. Scott, you love Billy Joel, don't you? You would not go to a Billy Joel concert with me, would you?
I would rather go to a Billy Joel concert with you instead of that concert we went to at the State Fair.
Hey, they're coming back. Actually, I saw in the newspaper. I don't know. I saw on the Star Trib. There's tomorrow at US Bank Stadium. There's a huge rock concert. It's Poison,
Motley Crue.
Who
Joan
else?
Jett, Def Leppard.
Yeah, you saw that.
I'll
Fun.
Be I'll be there.
Yeah, I will not be there.
Super fun, Corey.
I went to the Billy Joel concert when he played at Target Field a couple years ago.
Good.
Yeah, it was good. Although my favorite song, Down Easter Alexa, was not played. It's a really obscure Billy Joel song.
It is an obscure one.
Yeah.
It is obscure.
You know, I'm going to hit a listen quick if I can.
Yeah, please do.
New listing that just went on yesterday in Lakeville, 20600 Holt Avenue. It is a 3-bedroom, 3-bath, end unit townhome that has probably the best lot in the entire development. It is got hardwood floors, built-in buffet in the kitchen, 10-foot ceilings on the main. Really nice open floor plan. I've sold a lot of these through the years. It's when's been built, so really quality. 325,000. You know, interesting thing on this one.
What's that?
Never done this in all my years. So I was going over to bring the sign in the brochures, and so I had texted my client and said, "Hey, I'll be there in a little bit. Are you around?" And I didn't hear back. So when I got there, I knocked on the door, and she didn't answer. So I figured she was out. So anyways, I hung the lockbox, put the sign in the yard, and then I went out to have lunch with Jen and Joyce, who's one of my favorite clients for 18 years when I sold her first house. Anyways, she called and said, "Oh, I wish I would have saw you when you were here." I said, "Well, I knocked," and she said, "Well, I didn't hear it. I was in the house," and she said, "And there's no sign or lockbox on my house." And I'm like, "You're kidding me?" So I hung the sign and lockbox on a different 20600, but it was on Heritage, not on Holt.
Oh no!
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So then I'm panicked. And my photographer's at the Heritage property, and I'm like, "No." So everybody was confused. It was all my fault. I've never done that. But anyways, incredible property. Just went on yesterday. So if you are in that price range, it is a really good value, super quality built house. I don't know if I said, but it actually has a really extra large deck, which very few in the neighborhood do. So 20600 Holt Avenue in Lakeville.
Got to give a shout out, Mr. Tim Lee with the Minnesota Real Estate Team and Remax Advantage Plus. Awesome agent. He's got one up in Circle Pines. It's 415,000. Address is 303 Evergreen Lane in Circle Pines. And Tim describes it. He says it's a gorgeously updated home. Its pride of ownership shows throughout. The main level provides a formal dining area. It leads to the upgraded kitchen with quartz countertops, stainless steel appliances, great backsplash. Opens flowingly into the naturally lit living room with a gas fireplace. It's got a brand new AC and furnace in July of 2022, newer roof in 2017, and it's located in the highly recognized Centennial Schools. Easy access to 35W, and it's only minutes from the Twin Cities. Again, really nice, very nice looking home. You look at the pictures, 5-bed, 4-bath home for 415,000, 303 Evergreen Lane in Circle Pines. Brand new on the market too. That's a nice area too up there. I don't know if you guys have been up Circle Pines area, but it's a nice neck of the woods.
Yeah, I have. Another funny thing with Joyce, she had pictures of us at a closing 18 years ago. And I mean, I haven't aged at all, which is really strange, but it was fun looking at it. Hers was actually on a Polaroid.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Which I don't even think they have those anymore.
Scott, 18 years ago. Hey, we've been talking with Mike Overson, Corey Schmiedeberg, Midwest Money Management. Corey, you just mentioned that the stock market went down this year 23%, you said, and now we're up 16%?
Yeah, so market peaked the first week of January, which is maybe a little unique. When you look at performance reports and things, everybody always looks on the calendar for whatever reason. But that's part of the reason why your statements look as ugly as they do, is because the end of the year was basically the high water mark. So yeah, the market peaked first week of January, bottomed out around 23% down sometime in June. And since June, it's actually had a bit of a bear market rally, and it's up 16%.
So does bear market rally mean that will continue, or what does that mean?
Yeah, one, we have no clue.
Right.
Because we can't predict the future. Two, there's an interesting, if you Google it, or if you look, there's multiple tweets and different things showing the S&P 500 during the 08-09 housing crash, and it's overlaid with the S&P 500 of today. And what's interesting is the numbers are different because the valuation was different back then, but the graph actually tracks almost exactly. So the stock market sold off, had a rally, and then the actual big bottom, the 50+% peak to trough drawdown happened after the bear market rally. So take it for what it's worth. I'm not saying that we're going to go down another 30% from here, but it's pretty interesting that that's where it lined up before.
Interesting.
So I had a question that, and this is basic for most people, but I think for some people that might not understand it. So if I put $100,000 in the stock market, so I literally write a check for $100,000 and I buy whatever stocks, and the stock market goes down 30%. So do I now have $70,000 in my account?
Yes.
Okay. So then it goes up 16%, which is that 46%, or is that 16% from the 30 that's already been lost?
No, you're giving me way too many weird numbers. Let me do it this way.
Okay.
I know
Yeah.
what you're trying to
Okay.
illustrate. I talk about this all the time. Let's start with 100. Let's start with 100 and you go down 50. Okay. You're at 50,
Sure.
50,000 or $50 or whatever. Now you get a 100%, you get a 50% rate of return off of your 50. You're at 75. Your average rate of return is 0. You're down 50, up 50, but your real rate of return is still negative 25.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
Because you're down.
Yeah.
Um,
So when people say that their 401ks are disappearing, it's not that they had $250,000 in their 401k and the interest that they've made on it has disappeared. It's actually eating into the actual money that was there.
That is correct.
Yeah.
It's whatever it's up or down of, assuming they haven't changed their allocations and things. But when people talk about the stock market being down 20%, it's down 20% of the last 100 and some years of the stock market. It's everything.
Yeah.
So protecting the downside is more important than always capturing all of the upside.
Corey Schmiedeberg, best way for people to reach you and Midwest Money Management.
Yeah, you can call our phone number 651-204-3000, or you can go to our website, midwestmoneymanagement.com. I would actually, one of the things I wanted to say is go out to our website and go under our events tab. And the president and founder of our company, Adam Hartung, has our halftime report recorded out there. It's a nice 30-minute presentation, and it goes into depth of all the things that have happened thus far in the year and some thoughts on what's going to happen for the rest of the year.
I've watched it. It's a really good event. Really good presentation. A nice YouTube video, 30 minutes. You guys did an awesome job on it.
Yeah, thanks. Can I say one more thing?
Yeah, please.
It's my youngest boy's birthday on Monday, so happy birthday to Jude. He's going to turn 11.
Jude!
Hey, Jude.
Happy birthday, buddy. Fun. Hope it's a great day. Nice job, Corey.
Thanks.
Yeah, very well done. Before the break here, Angel Ball, Remax Advantage Plus, the Minnesota real estate team. She's got an open house today, Saturday, 10 a.m. to noon, and tomorrow, Sunday, 1 to 3 p.m. Scott, this one's in Farmington, 20586 Abbey Lane in Farmington. It's 2-bed, 1.5 bath townhome. The seller has made significant updates in 2021 with a new stainless steel kitchen, appliances, new flooring, painted walls, ceilings, new light fixtures and fan fixtures. And it is priced at $229,000. So a very nice listing. Open house today, 10 to noon. Tomorrow, 1 to 3. 20586 Abbey Lane in Farmington. Angel Ball is out there. Awesome listing. Check that one out. This is the Minnesota Real Estate Show. Well, Mike, what do you think moving forward? Any predictions from your end?
Interest rate wise, I think they'll trickle down. If you look at today versus December 31st, I think they're a little bit lower. You always have this going on. I think they'll be a little bit lower at the end of the year as far as mortgage interest rates go. I'll probably be completely wrong, but anyway, That's what I'm thinking. What are you thinking?
I think that between now and the end of the year, I don't think a lot's going to happen. But I think over the next decade, I think we're going to see rates in general, not just mortgage rates, but fixed interest rates. I think we're going to see things go back up, because I mean, I can send you guys these charts, but I've got 3 charts here. One's the 10-year treasury, one's the Fed funds rate, and one's 30-year mortgage rates. And if you lay them over top of one another, there's there certainly is disjointment for 6 months at a time or 12 months at a time or even 2 years at a time. But there always is going to be a regression back to the mean because economically they all have to work in conjunction. You can't have a fixed interest paying 10% and you can't have long-term rates be significantly lower than short-term rates. Otherwise, nobody's going to do that stuff, you know.
Right.
So, I think rates will rise. I don't know how high or where they'll end up, but yeah.
Scott, what do you think for the housing market the rest of the year? What are you feeling? What are you seeing?
I think we're going to kind of see what we're seeing right now until, like Mike had said, maybe the end of September. And then I think we're going to get a little bit of a run going through September, October, November. Again, I sound like a broken record, but I just think that everything happens so quick. You know, I can't remember at all all the time I've been doing this where all these factors happen like in a 3-month period. You know, interest rates doubled, housing prices were going up at 15, 18% a click a year, and then we have inflation. Cost of gas went through the roof. Cost of groceries went through the roof. And it happened in such a condensed time. I mean, I just think back to real world stuff where, and I've said this analogy before, but, I had kids buying houses at, $450,000. And if I had gone to them and said, well, why don't I sell you $1 million house? They would have looked at me like I was out of my mind. Well, it's the same payment. What they were buying for $450,000, they could have bought $1 million, 100 and something days ago. And so that's kind of hitting people between the eyes. They're like, oh my God, this is real stuff. And in the same sense, you've got to live somewhere. So you either have a choice of renting, living with your folks, or buying a house. And it's still way better off to buy a house. And so I think that will settle in.
We're going back live on air. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks for joining us on social media. This is the Minnesota Real Estate Show. Welcome your questions, comments, thoughts. Hey, welcome back. Thanks for joining us. Hope your weekend is going well, everybody. This is the Minnesota Real Estate Show. And we do appreciate you joining us. Troy Hill, awesome agent on the Minnesota Real Estate team, RE/MAX Advantage Plus. He's got an open house. He's at right now from 10 to noon out in Ogilvie, 5295 414th Trail. It's a 26-acre hobby farm. It's priced at $254,900, 26 acres in Ogilvie, 5295 414th Trail. Troy's out there right now from 10 a.m. to noon. Awesome agent on the team. That'd be kind of cool. A hobby farm, 26 acres, fun.
Yeah, that would be. It's interesting. We're such creatures of habit. Have you ever thought of this? We've always done 2-hour open houses.
Yeah.
Like when I got the business, I did 4 open houses every single weekend without fail. That was nothing was going to get in the way. And I did them from 12 to 2 and then 2:30 to 4:30. So I had a half hour in between to be able to get to the other place. And then later in my career, when the internet came out, and that was how people searched it.
When cars came around.
Yeah, when cars
later
came
in your
around.
career.
Exactly.
Cars came around.
I started doing hour because the reason you did 2 hours back then is because people actually came off of signs and
Sure.
what they saw in the newspaper and what they saw in ads. And so, you had less opportunity to condense them. Where now people they're just going to the internet, they're looking and they're like, okay, this one's from 11 to 12. And so believe me, they'll be there at 11 o'clock. I just think over time, I think we're going to see agents starting to do, not that this matters to anybody out there except for a real estate geek like me, but I think we're going to see people condensing and just doing an hour open house.
We are seeing also a lot of price reductions in our market. So we're seeing listings that maybe some sellers that may be pricing a little too high. So we're seeing market time increase, price reductions happen over time. Buyers are still buying, of course, but we are seeing, again, more open houses in the market, price reductions, and what we call broker open houses, which are fellow agents that come to offer an opinion on price to the listing agent so they can provide that to the seller. Mike, from Mortgage People Doing Open Houses, have you guys done opens over the years or much of that?
I have definitely have sat in there before. more maybe on the new construction side,
Mhm.
of sitting in new construction open houses and things like that.
Like through a parade, that kind of thing.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Through the fall parade, the spring parade, things like that, just because it seems it's busier. And then, you got one agent in there. And if you have 4 groups of people going through or 5 groups of people going through open house, it's just nice to have someone else there to kind of help out and stuff. But yeah, more through the parade on the new construction things. But yeah, if an agent reaches out to us, be like, hey, we don't do this open house to me, absolutely go there.
Yeah, again, Minnesota Real Estate Show, 612-294-6949. Kim had asked, looking to buy on a contract for deed. Her credit is not good. What is the most amount of money that I need to put down for a contract for deed?
It's up to the seller. It's up to what you can negotiate out. So the concern for a contract for deed, here would be my suggestion. Contract for deed makes the buyer feel like they're a homeowner. And it's really nothing more than a rental to buy. And so, what I would do is I'd rent, I would get your credit underway, because a traditional contract for deed is going to have a much larger down payment because the seller is taking on the risk. So I did one. Very few people do many of them because we've been in such a great market that they're just not done. But back during the crash, I did one on acreage, and it was a $250,000 down payment on a $700,000 house. Guy had money, but he had bad credit. And then we had the loan come due at year 3, where he has to be able to finance the person out of that. The other concern from your side, when you're putting down, so let's say you're putting down $50,000 to buy a $300,000 house, then the agreed sale price is what it is, and you have to do an end loan at 3 years. You can't do that end loan at 3 years. You forfeit the money, you forfeit all the payments you've made on it, all the interest you've made on it, and the seller takes it. So guys that do contract for deeds, that's how they make their money. That's why they do contracts.
They almost hope you default.
They hope you default on it because they get your down payment, all the payments that you've made. So whenever I have a client that asks me about it, I'm like, look, just rent, keep your money, get your help me out. Credit underway, and then go out and buy something legitimately.
It's probably why, Mike, again, we work with Jared Havens and his team at Credit Life. They do an awesome job. They're local here, but it's oftentimes credit can be repaired faster than a person thinks, Mike.
Absolutely. And we have a great system set up. So I've known Jared for years. Jared and Brian Delter's over there for years. Always referred our clients to them because they do a good job, and they're local. They're local guys that you can actually go sit down and meet with if you want to, versus doing everything, online. But when someone comes to us and says, hey, I want to buy a house, I know I need work on my credit. Typically what I recommend is having them fill out an application with me, because then I can see what's going on with their credit, but then I can also see the other factors. Do you have the job history needed? Do you have the income? Do you have this? Do you have that? I can see the whole profile and say, okay, here's the areas that you need to work on. Credit might be one of them. There might be some other areas to work on. So now we can get all the wheels turning, and we can put this plan in place to say, okay, if you do these things, complete those, you're going to be in position. You'll be able to buy a house.
Yeah.
So
I had another question come in from Robert. Robert looks like he is asking specifically about kind of an interesting one here. This is again regarding possession. When he needs to move into the home, it said that in a purchase agreement, he agreed to possession 3 days after the closing.
Wow.
Is that normal?
No, it's not. It actually used to be more normal when I got in the late 1998 to maybe 2001. I probably saw more 24-hour occupancies back then. I haven't seen a 24-hour or 48-hour occupancy in 15 years.
Cody's got a funny look.
Yeah, why? Why would, because they want to move out?
Well, yeah. So the seller wants time to be able to have their house closed, and then it's closed, and take a leisurely way of getting their house boxed up.
Very leisurely,
Yeah.
but 72 hours.
Yeah, and in Tennessee, they'll have like a week, and it's pretty common where they close on the property and you don't move into a week later, and I'm like, damage to the house. What happens? Who pays for it? Is there an escrow deposit that protects you? Who's covering insurance on it? All those things get into place.
Had a question here about I'm getting financing. Do I have to do a well and septic? test, Mike, if I'm getting financing?
That's a loaded question. It might seem like a simple question. It's kind of a loaded question. I always go to the purchase agreement. First of all, does the purchase agreement call for it? Did you ask the seller to provide and pay for a well and septic test?
Yeah,
Did you put on there that you are going to be required to get a well and septic test, make sure that they pass for you? If the purchase agreement doesn't call for it and you're doing a conventional loan, you don't need it.
interesting. You don't need it.
No. Now, on the real estate side of things, there might be some municipalities that require a seller to get those things done, get those tests done before you can sell it.
Sure.
So the loan might not require it, but then you have a requirement from the municipality that's out there. So
Yeah, there's a lot of those. As you're saying that, there's a lot of those things in real estate. Like one that I come across quite a bit, and I'm coming across it again, is a married couple, and one of the partners owns the house in their name without the spouse on anything, not on title, not on anything. They have an agreement through the attorney that any funds ever made on that house all goes to the one person. The other one has no part in it. So logically, you would think, well, when I sell my house, this person doesn't need to be involved, because here's all the documentation from the attorney. They have no legal right to it. They have no this, they have no this, they have no this. The other person still has to sign for you to sell it in Minnesota.
Mhm.
One to buy, two to sell.
It is, and it always blows clients' minds, because think about it logically. You've got all this documentation from the courts and from the attorney saying it's not needed. They have
Well, and that's pretty rare, I would say, Scott, because again, most sellers, even if they're divorcing or whatever, there's maybe something in the divorce decree about the money, but usually the money is half and half.
usually.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this one is usual, but I've run into it quite a bit through the years, and it unfortunately, you still have to have the other spouse sign off.
Yeah. Hey, last thoughts, Mike, as we head to the home stretch here in the final minute.
Still a good time to buy. People are going to say, home prices are going to come down, and the rates are going to come down, and let's just wait it out. I don't think that's the right play. I honestly don't. I think if you look at buying today versus buying 12 months from today, you're going to pay more for that house. Interest rates, I think, might be a little bit less, but you're still going to pay more for the house. It's not worth waiting.
Corey, last thoughts?
Everybody just have a good weekend.
Yeah. Happy birthday to Jude.
Thanks.
Yeah. Very cool. Scott?
Yeah, no, I agree with Mike. You can look at any calculator that you want. It does not make sense to wait to buy. And if you are a buyer, guys, I'm telling you, we go into next spring, we're gonna have a repeat of what we had this spring. So if you're an FHA buyer, VA buyer, or minimum down conventional buyer, buy right now, because you can buy.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in, everybody. One last listing, 795 Regent Drive in Shakopee, 400,000. It's a 3-bed, 3-bath townhome listed by Jennifer Tischlitter, Remax Advantage Plus, the Minnesota real estate team. Brand new in the market. Check it out. It's been a fun show. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye. Thanks for joining, for so many people watching the whole show. We do appreciate it. We'll be back next weekend. If you have any questions, comments, thoughts you ever want to hear, please don't hesitate to let us know. Great job, guys.
Yeah, thanks
Thanks.
guys.
Good job, Ryan.
See you later. We'll take care.